Now that we have sewn our fabric pieces together using our button, and we've attached our leaf with a running stitch, now we're going to work on stitching our name. Now there's a few things I want to talk to you about stitching. Okay, most of these lines are going to be straight lines, and we're going to be able to create the shape even if your letters have curves by the way that we're angling our stitches. Okay, so I want us to think about a digital clock. So with a digital clock, or with the digital letters, okay, this is traditional to how numbers are set up on a digital clock. They are in a box, and 8 is a good representation of that box because it actually contains all of the lines within this box. Okay, so there's one on the top and the bottom, 2 on each side, and then 1 in the middle. And you're able to create each number, okay, using that box by taking away some. Okay, so I would take away the side to make 9. I could take away both sides to make 3. So I want us to consider this box when we are creating our name today. We're going to try to shape the letters similar to how you would shape these numbers. So for example, the number 5 is going to be an S. The number 1 could be L or I. 0 could be D. 8 could be B. 3 upside down is going to look like the letter E. 4 upside down could be in lowercase h. 6 upside down could be a G. 7 upside down could be an L. So I want you to look at this word, display, as our example. Okay, and how they're able to change the lines, okay, to represent a letter instead of a number. Okay, so here's what we're trying to get to. And some of these, it might look a little bit different than how you choose to do it. Like for example, I choose to do my M and my W a little bit differently. I also choose to do my K. But this is just a good starting point for what you are trying to get to when creating those letters. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we're going to get started. In the past, when we have been sewing, we've been using a needle that has been threaded almost twice. So the thread goes through the eye of the needle and back down, and we're actually tying a knot to attach both strings together. Well, today we're only going to be sewing with one string, so it's going to be threaded a little bit differently, and I want to teach you how to do it because you possibly will be doing it on your own a few times as well. We're going to use something I call a hot dog bun, which is just a tiny folded piece of paper. Okay, so it looks like a hot dog bun. And we're going to consider our thread, our string, as our hot dog. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is make a knot at the end. Okay, and remember, I'm using these 2 fingers to guide my knot, so I'm pushing it as far down to the end of my string as possible. Now, to thread this, we're using embroidery thread, which is several strands of thread together. So a lot of times when we're trying to thread our needle, okay, those strands start to fray in the little tiny hole. So we're going to use our hot dog bun. I'm going to slide my hot dog, which is my string, inside of my hot dog bun. Okay, then I'm going to fold it up really nicely, and I'm going to pinch it at the very beginning. I want it to be really small right here at the edge. And all I'm going to do is slide my hot dog bun right through the eye of the needle. And when I pull it all the way through, okay, now my needle has been threaded, okay, without fraying or tearing up the top of my string. Now, like I said, we're not going to double it up, so we're not going to pull this all the way to the end and tie a knot. We're actually going to leave this as a tail. Okay, this is kind of tricky because a lot of times when we're pulling our thread to tighten it, this tail will slide right out of the eye of the needle, which is why you're going to need your hot dog bun to make sure you can thread it back again. But one thing you can do is when you're stitching, okay, to actually hold your needle down at the eye and pinch your fingers together so you're holding the two strings tightly, so as you're pulling your needle, okay, this tail is not going to come loose because you're pinching it tight. Alright, so let's get started. Now remember, when we are stitching, okay, you always want to start on the bottom. So I'm actually going to push through from the bottom up because I want my knot to be on the back side of my work. I don't want to be able to see that knot in the beginning, okay? So I'm going to just start where I think I want my letter to begin. Okay, I'm going to be spelling the word chance. So I'm going to pull all the way up, okay, until my knot hits the back, and then I'm ready to create my letter. I'm actually, to make the letter C, I'm going to go across, up, and then back across the top. So what I'm going to do is I want my line to be right here. So I'm going to poke my needle down where I want that line to stop. Okay, remember, pinch the needle here so you don't lose your tail, and pull tightly. Don't pull too tight, okay, that you can't see your stitch anymore, or it starts to change the fabric, okay, it starts to mix it up. Now, this is the tricky part, okay. Now when I'm going to start my next line, I don't automatically go up to the top because then you won't see my stitch. I need to be able to see my stitch on the front of my leaf. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm trying to zoom in so y'all can see, but it gets blurry. I'm going to poke my needle up right where I want my line to start, right on the edge of where I finished my line. So it's going to look like that it's a continuous line, even though we know there's short stitches. Then I want my C to end up here. So I'm going to poke down. Remember to pinch your needle as you pull to tighten. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now I need to push up here, right next to the end of that line, pull tightly across the back, and then go all the way across, and I'm going to try to line up with that stitch I made earlier. All the way across. Okay, there's my C. Now I'm going to move on and continue. So if I ended here, I'm just going to jump right over next to that, so my H can start here. I'm going to pull, 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 and I'm going to go all the way down and make a straight line. So I'm going to poke down at the bottom where my C ended so that they're similar sizes. Sorry, I almost lost my thread. And pull until it's tight. Now I'm going to go across and make another vertical line up and down for the other side. So I'm going to poke in over here on the same distance. Then I'm going to go all the way up to the top, poke down. Now to make that middle line across, I'm just going to start somewhere in the middle right here. I'm going to poke up. Remember, you want to get as close to that stitch as possible so it looks like it's continuous. Poke up and pull, and then I'm just going to go directly across, poke down and pull. Okay. Now for A could look like your H. So if we're using the digital clock method where we see the digital numbers, I could just make a line across here to make an A, okay? And that would follow kind of that same scheme we're doing. Or, like I said before, some of the times when I'm making a diagonal letter, I don't necessarily follow that. I can kind of decide how I want it to look on my own. So I do want a diagonal line this way. So I'm going to go towards the middle, still staying in line with my C and my H, but I'm going to have my stitch angling another direction. So I go towards the middle a little bit and pull through. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to come up next to that point. So it's going to make the top of my A. Then I can go back down, wider just a little bit, so it creates a diagonal line instead of a straight line. And then the same thing I did with my H. Push up in the middle and push down by the A. Alright, now it's time to have a try yourself. Good luck and have fun!